Well, hey, life groups, I hope you're enjoying March break, if that applies to you. More than that, I hope that you're off to a good start in your journey through the season of Lent that we're on together as a church. Whether or not you joined us at the Ash Wednesday service last week or on Sunday, I hope this is forming a good conversation for you to reflect on the significance of the meaning and symbolism of the cross, where Christ died to take away our sin. That's what we looked at on Sunday. The cross is a symbol of God's forgiveness, and we looked at a lot of different metaphors for how that actually works. But we actually did a bit of a deep dive into the Old Testament, the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis, and the stories of animal sacrifice in the book of Leviticus, particularly the Day of Atonement. And for those of you who are just kind of new to faith and just figuring this stuff all out, I'm sorry if this was a bit of a fire hose. I want you to understand today that what is most important for you to appreciate in this morning is that the cross means that God loves you beyond anything you could ever imagine and forgives you of all your sin. That there is nothing that God holds against you, that God just has freed you and liberated you, doesn't think about it anymore, doesn't hold a grudge, never wants you to walk around feeling ashamed or hanging your head in fear of punishment. That's just not how God thinks about sin. God only ever, always wants to restore us, to get rid of sin and to bring us close, to be reunited with us. That's the message of the cross when it comes to forgiveness. For those of you who are maybe Bible nerds or enjoyed a little bit more of the deep dive, it might be helpful for you to process a little bit of how this maybe reframed understanding of the Old Testament sacrificial system helps us rethink what Jesus did for us at the cross, not as appeasing God's wrath, like the pagan religions would sort of describe, or as making a payment to God for sin, but actually in dethroning and declining death and hell forever. For those of you maybe who have gone through in the last few years some deconstruction of some of the maybe less helpful ideas about the cross and forgiveness that maybe you were raised with, I would encourage you to share freely and reflect on what it means to maybe rethink how forgiveness and the cross actually works, and to wrestle with this idea that it's actually not, an equation that gets solved because Jesus satisfied God's demands, but that it's actually just an incredible gift of God's forgiveness. Lastly, we just talked about how these three ideas that the cross frees us from not just the penalty of our sin, but from the power of sin over us, so we can live a new kind of life, and ultimately will one day liberate us from the very presence of sin. What incredible hope that is. And so as you reflect on how all of this tracks with you and changes how you think about your own life, I wish you a wonderful conversation. And I hope that you, as you continue in this journey of Lent together with us, that it'll be a really meaningful experience.